Are you ready?
The Philadelphia Eagles are Super Bowl champions.
I was right.
Let's go!
I'm the best.
And here are your hosts, Jessica Town and Rob Lange.
You're a jackass.
Embrace the madness.
What is going on, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of The Madness. I am one of your hosts, Rob Lange. Along with me, as always, is the wonderful and the talented Jessica Town. We are brought to you by The Painted Lines. Make sure you are subscribing to The Painted Lines YouTube channel. And I wanted to get all that out of the way because, Jess, I have never been one for when we are doing our podcast to drink. I know a lot of people like to drink on a podcast. It's like a cool thing to do. Like, it's just typically like I'll have water. But after what we had to witness on Sunday,
Vodka?
it's now Thursday, and I have done everything I could to get over this. This is now like my fifth one of the evening. So I'm in a whole nother loopy mental place. I'm willing to say it out here live. It doesn't matter to me. I'm going to put it out there for everyone to hear so we can have some fun conversations. But Jess, what the hell? Just, you know what? I just want you to have a moment to just be Jess and let us know your feelings on everything.
So, the first time I drank during a podcast was, I guess, Sunday, was during the Baseball and Broad pregame show.
Great, by the way, which was tremendous, by the way.
Thank you. Mom made some phenomenal tequila drink that was Eagles green, and I wish I had about 15 more of them for what was going to happen. And then after kind of like yelling before the game and getting excited and then watching the game afterwards, Joe kept trying to talk to me about the game on the way home. And I just kept being like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I don't want to talk about it. He'd be like, well, what about Zach Ertz? I'm like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, I couldn't make myself talk about it. We came home, I showered, we ordered Chinese, and that was it. Like, that was the end of our Sunday. I didn't even stay awake long enough to watch the Cowboys lose because I was like, I need my rest.
What?
Here are my thoughts. I have so many problems with so many different things, and they are all so intertwined with each other. And like, I guess the easiest place to start is the offensive line. I still haven't quite figured out what the obsession is with Nate Herbig. They like really love him. I don't really know why. I still can't figure out why Matt Pryor was the guy that came in last year when Brandon Brooks went down and practiced all summer at right guard, and then all of a sudden wasn't your right guard. That doesn't really make any kind of sense to me at all, especially when he was a guy who you kind of like fought to keep on your roster for a while when like maybe you didn't need to. And they were so high on Pryor. And I now I don't know if that has to do with the fact that now Jason Peters is their left tackle and Matt Pryor is essentially, their emergency left tackle. The fact that you have to have an emergency plan that can't play at any other position or do anything else like his actual position it's just a giant like red X on the front office, in my opinion. Even during team installs, Lane Johnson was the projected starter and Jack Driscoll wasn't getting the work there. Like, that just kind of happened. There were 3 snaps on the right side, and the right side wasn't even the biggest problem of the day. The left side, it was a turnstile. Jason Peters, I love him. He's a first ballot Hall of Famer. We can say that every time to preface every negative thing we say about JP, but the man literally can't move. And I think that's part of the reason why they didn't utilize the screen game and they couldn't utilize any sort of rollouts either way to move the pocket because their left guard or left tackle literally can't move. Carson Wentz was sacked 8 times. And like, also they need to teach their wide receivers how to block at all, because that didn't exist either. Carson Wentz's decision-making was extremely poor. Throw the ball away, move. I don't know what they've done or what they are trying to do with him. And I understand that they want to make him a better pocket passer, and that's great, but let's not take away what makes him great, and that's being accurate on the move. You saw that last year in Washington. You saw it last year when he literally willed your team to the playoffs and he kind of had nothing left, and just like you let him run loose, and that's when he was successful the most last year. I mean, the one interception to Hightower, I put that more on Hightower. The one to Jalen Reagor, that was Carson all the way. Carson still made a bad throw on the one to Hightower, but that's one where, like, I get it. When you're sitting on a hitch, you sit there, but, like, you got to come back to the ball a little bit. You got to be a little bit more aggressive and fight with that. I also have a huge problem with the play calling on Sunday. Usually I absolutely despise the first 15, and after that it gets better. This was the opposite way around. I loved the first 15, all the 12 personnel that they used going through the first quarter and a half, just using your tight ends to take you right down the field, utilizing the run game a little bit in between. It was absolutely perfect. It's exactly what you needed. Long drives. Carson looked good, had his reliable receivers. Even the long ball to Jalen Reagor was great. We thought this is going to be a great day, wonderful day. That 3rd and 3 in the third quarter, what in God's name was that? Didn't roll Carson out at all, didn't move him in the pocket. Also, riddle me load managing Deshaun, because that makes absolutely no sense to me, even remotely. Like I also said, they stopped running the football. I get it that Miles Sanders was out, but I thought that Boston Scott and Corey Clement were doing a fairly decent job of getting you the yards you needed, especially on first down. They were getting you to move a little bit. And I thought, again, only 17 rush attempts, and that was essentially their problem last year as well. And I mean, there's also the giant thing at the end of the day of your second round draft pick was a healthy scratch week 1 when you had starters missing at 6 different positions. God forbid you draft somebody that can help you.
And that is something, Jess, that me and you have harped on since the draft. But real quick, before I get to all my takeaways, I want to let you know you guys can be commenting as we play. We will put them up. Of course, my man, Mr. Crockpot. Of course, my man, Chris Deibler. All right. Jalen Reagor was better than Justin Jefferson. That's the only positive. Love you, Rob. Yeah. Me and Chris have been going back and forth on that. We kind of have a friendly bet on what happens there. Our man DC8950 says Doug has to play to Carson's strengths better. Totally agree. And yes, it sure was not a great game.
And then to wrap up my rant, my biggest issue ultimately kind of comes into play with the fact that there are so many issues and decision-making problems that have also come out. And apparently, it's kind of been there's been a little bit of rebuttal on the heated exchange report between Zach Ertz and Howie Roseman. Apparently it was like Howie just kind of said, "Hey, Zach, why did you talk to the media like that?" And they had a little exchange. Apparently a bunch of reporters witnessed it and it was not heated at all. Again, but the fact that there's still a conversation there, I just think that there absolutely is some sort of power struggle going on in that organization. And I think that there are too many issues and terrible decisions being made, that there's way more going on than just being able to go out there and play football on Sunday. And that goes into the Zach Ertz drop. And obviously, Zach Ertz will be the first one to tell you, I got to catch that ball. You know what I mean? Zach Ertz will be the first one to be like, I effed up. You know what I mean? But all the people that are like, oh, what, he wants a contract. This shouldn't be an issue. He shouldn't be having to think about 1,000,001 things going into Sunday. We should just be worrying about playing football, winning games, and not all this other BS that's going on. And rant. For now.
So I'm getting us up on Instagram so people can join the show and be talking along with us. But listen, where there's smoke, there's fire. And with this team, there are some major issues. Things have been kind of leaking out little by little throughout the offseason. The power struggle between Doug and Howie Banner. Yes, I know what I just said. I refuse to refer to him as his actual name because, if anything, he now looks more like Joe Banner than ever before with everything this guy's doing. He's ignoring spots that can't be ignored. He's lowballing guys that have been career guys. Now, I mean, I'm going to have a little Zach Ertz criticism as well in a minute, but that's besides the point. Jess, you said it. You drafted a backup quarterback in the second round. You didn't dress him in week 1. Meanwhile, your offensive line looked like, forgive my language, looked like shit. Okay? You decided to just think that Boston Scott and Corey Clement minus a Miles Sanders would be okay, where you could have probably drafted a J.K. Dobbins or, as I've been pining for all offseason, signed to a veteran minimum deal at this point, a Devontae Freeman. It's just there is so much that you could have done to make sure this team was in a better position. The defensive ends. I mean, come on. Brandon Graham goes down. Now where the hell are we? Like, you just ignored every single
Sunday.
What's that?
He's playing on Sunday.
No, I just mean within the game. Like,
but even within the game, the defense graded out at number 1 overall. I have no gripes at all.
I don't have any gripes with the defense, but here's where I had the gripes with you. Your defensive ends need to supply. All I know is I watched Everson Griffin in the backfield many a time on Sunday. You know, and I just mean from his standpoint of you just ignored these things and thought you were smarter than everybody. And then on top of that, you go to the offensive line. Now, I had someone on Twitter say, oh, now everybody wanted an offensive lineman. I was screaming in the second and third round for the center out of Wisconsin, Biadasz. I think that's how you pronounce his name. He went to Dallas. You're telling me you couldn't have had that guy come in and be your right guard when Herbig sucked and Driscoll got hurt and all this other crap that happened? I will say this again. I said this on Tuesday night. I will say it again now. After the first few possessions, Carson Wentz was the worst I've seen him as an Eagle. It was his worst game overall as an Eagle. I am in no way trying to, defend him for how bad he played. Out of those 8 sacks, at least 3, probably 4 were on him for holding the ball. I'm not disagreeing with that.
The 3rd and 4th down sacks cannot happen. Those are on him solely.
No, except for the one where Boston Scott just elected to go block no one as a guy came up the middle.
And blocking, just at rating.
The fact that all offseason we were told Matt Pryor. Never once did I hear Nate Herbig's name. Never once did I hear Jack Driscoll's name. And I know that people think that Jack Driscoll played well, but there were 4 plays that Darryl Johnson actually showed on the TV where Driscoll totally chose the wrong guy to block and blocked no one on blitzes. That's because he didn't have the reps. Doug can say whatever the hell he wants at his press conferences that he had the reps. Jack Driscoll did not have enough reps to come in there and play.
But also, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not going to – if there are 4 plays in an entire game where he did not play well or things like that, he's a rookie. He's a 4th round draft pick.
And I think he's a guard. I think he's better at a guard position.
Which is fine. But, I mean, you needed a right tackle, and the rookie stepped in and ultimately had a pretty decent day against a lethal defensive line. I mean, he held his own fairly well over there. And it just, it's frustrating, but I'm trying to keep in perspective that he is a rookie who has never played a snap of NFL football. Ryan Kerrigan.
Right. Don't get me wrong.
There was no preseason, and that's just such a game changer.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to put this all on Jack Driscoll, and I think Jack Driscoll could sure have a good career here, and I'm fine with that. I just think the Eagles put him in a really bad spot. It kind of reminded me, putting Driscoll and Herbig in that spot kind of reminded me of the year that they put Winston Justice in that spot, and they didn't give him any help, and they didn't give him any chip blocks. Listen, this is from –
there were a couple that were attempted, and they were poor.
Oh, they were terrible. But listen, we could blame Howie Banner all we want. That's what I'm telling you. That's all I'm calling him now. We can blame him all we want. Let's focus on Sunday. Carson Wentz was terrible. He deserves a good amount of the blame. I'm not saying that he doesn't. But if you want to give the most blame to somebody, okay, and I know it's like friggin' blasphemous to ever rip him because he was the first coach to win a Super Bowl here, but Doug Peterson was downright garbage. He was downright garbage. When things started to get away from them, instead of adjusting, and Jess, me and you have said this on this show numerous times, that Doug's in-game adjustments are pathetic. They're poor. And in a town like Philadelphia, where we spent 3 years as a majority of the fan base ripping Brett Brown for not knowing how to adjust, for you to attempt to defend Doug Peterson for the same friggin' problem, you're missing everything.
I
Doug,
don't think anyone trying to defend Doug.
well, there's just the people that are, oh no, he's not Brett. It's the same Brett Brown issue. It is the same thing.
Who are you seeing? I'm genuinely asking. I have not seen this at all.
I've heard it. I've seen it. I've heard, and I guess more of it is that people want to, like, when polls have been put out, Carson Wentz has been blamed 70% of the time, where Doug's been blamed. So I think I'm more addressing that. Like, I understand players play, and I understand all that, but you ran the ball 17 times. Deshaun Jackson was healthy and was on the field 37% of your snaps. What are you doing? Why is J.J. Arcega-Whiteside not on the field and Giant Hightower's out there 48% of the the If you're telling me
Whiteside was on the field, that's the problem.
But he was the least on the
field, but also not even looked at.
My whole point with all of this is the middle of the field was wide open all day. Where are the quick slants? Where are the quick hitters? Where are the keep going to the tight ends who on the first few drives of the game just blew the Redskins off the Redskins had no answer for it. Why did you go away from them?
Football team?
Whoever. I don't even care. They kicked our ass, so I could call them whatever the hell I want. I could call them the Washington people.
I don't think that's true. I think they can call us whatever they want. I don't think it works the other way around.
Well, I don't even know. Listen, this damn football team made me make my son cry on Sunday. So I'm not happy, Jess. On the 4th and 3 when Carson gets sacked and knocks him out of field goal range. Or actually it was the second 4th down when there was no point to go for it. Your defense has not let them drive the length of the field all day, yet you're still not going to punt the ball and send them deep. I screamed at Doug Peterson. Luka didn't like the scream. He cried. It happens. But still, that's Doug. I blame Doug for my son crying. I blame Doug for Luka crying because I was so infuriated. And it did. It ruined Sunday. It was the ultimate opposite of last year's season opener, where we were pissed in the beginning and happy at the end.
Yeah, I'm going to need that to change real quick because that was a sad drive home.
Just, I look.
Pleasant.
Like, and the funny thing was, I thought about this show this week. I said, all right, Jess is the eternal optimist. Like you are. You're the eternal optimist.
Yeah, that's totally true.
But I knew that when we came on here, just from reading your Twitter this week, that this was going to be a negative show. We talked about it. We talked about having certain guests on, and we were like, no, not this week, because this week is about yelling and screaming, and we want certain people to come on when we're not yelling and screaming.
Do you want to hear a really funny text message I just got?
I do.
So Joe just texted me and goes, "Do you take breaks on this podcast?" I said, "No." He goes, "Nola and I are stuck on the patio. I think the door locked behind us."
Go get Joe and Nola off the damn.
I'll be right back. Go rant.
I'm going to rant a little bit longer. Where do I go from there? I don't even know how to answer that, but I'm going to. Listen, everything brings me back to my conspiracy theory, and I put it out there on Party on Broad this week, and I'll put it out here for you guys as well. There is a problem in this organization, and this organization, in my opinion, is already showing signs of giving up on Carson Wentz. They are not supplying him with anything. They're calling bad plays. My conspiracy is real. I believe that Howie Banner believes that Jalen Hurts is the future of this team, not Carson Wentz, and that's why he's doing the stupid crap that he's doing. I just think there's a power. I think that's what worries me. And that's what worried me going into the season and led me to do something last week that I didn't want to do. Okay, is that I believe there are too many issues within this organization that is really going to cause a problem. And listen, they got a first place schedule this year, Jess. It don't get any easier. I know the Rams aren't God's gift to football, But the Rams have some good players, especially on defense, that make me sit here and go, uh-oh, when it comes to Sunday. I can't sit here and feel confident going into Sunday.
Oh, I feel completely confident going into Sunday. That doesn't change. I felt terrible, and I mean the reason I went off on this first episode of Babes this week because I had held it in for so long, and I absolutely lost my mind. That conversation of your conspiracy theory, I still refuse to get into. I refuse to even have that talk yet. I'm not.
Jess, Chris has said it. This is what needs to happen. If we want to better this world and better our Philadelphia sports team.
What if I get to be president?
Well, apparently, I think that's BS. But you know what? It's a woman's world now, Jess. You want to be president? Fine. I'll take the situation. Anything. And you know what? Our first order of business will have nothing to do with the whole country. It will only have to do with Philadelphia sports.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much.
That's the way it should be. But yeah, no, I refuse to get into that conversation. I refuse to have it until
you don't believe it. Because you don't want to believe it.
Well, I mean, until he's even active. Like I don't even until he is the backup quarterback. Like you're not going to sit here and have a conversation with me about him being like them giving up. Like we're not going to do it. If you're going to make your second round pick a healthy scratch, you're the one that looks like a dumbass, not me.
Agreed.
You know. Like you're the one that looks like the laughing stock of the NFL. Like go be a clown somewhere else in someone else's organization. But yeah, I mean, Aaron Donald last week. I mean, what did he have? 7 quarterback hurries, 2 hits, and a sack.
It didn't help that the picture that got put out on Instagram or Twitter this week too of him just chiseled like a godforsaken brick building.
That's not new. That's
I know, but just seeing it this week just made me go, oh, Jesus. Because it's like, Sayamalo's going to stop him? No. Herbig's going to stop him? No. To be honest with you,
I don't stop him.
Jason Kelce, without Brandon Brooks next to him, you kind of see a little bit. Obviously, he's getting older. I mean, it's just normal.
Sure.
You see him kind of downplay, not as good as he used to be. I'm scared that if I'm Carson Wentz, I'm going, Doug, roll me the hell out of the pocket every freaking time.
They can't force it. They can't keep him in a pocket that doesn't exist.
And they can't do 7-step drops when you have a team that can't block for that long.
Yeah, no, and I said this going into last week. If they're going to have any sort of success, they're going to have to move with some quick passes. They're going to have to utilize the screen game or rolling car. Like they don't have time for that. And like again, I think I actually might have said this on the pregame show as well. Like if me, who's never played a down of football in my life, can sit an hour before the game and say, this offensive line cannot block for more than 4 seconds. That is generous. You are going to need to utilize a screen game, B, rolling Carson Wentz out to either side, or C, running the football in between things. If I can sit here and say that, there's no reason that Doug Peterson shouldn't figure out a way to make it happen on the field.
Jess, there's a reason why we're podcast co-hosts, and although we are different in many ways, we do have a lot of the same thoughts. Literally on Tuesday, I said, I know I'm not a football coach and I don't know everything, but that means if I can see something, why the hell can't Doug Peterson see it?
If I can sit here and say this and be like, I just game planned for the Washington Redskins. Yeah. Like the Washington football team.
They get past that. Look at the last 4 games of last season. Look at Carson Wentz's career. When is he at his best? When he rolls the hell out, when the pocket moves, when all this crap happens, when he's throwing on the run. Why would you think in a game against one of the best defensive lines in football that 7-step drops and just running fly pat? Like, I understand they built their team off of speed, but speed doesn't just mean fly patterns. It means quick slants, hitches, quick routes.
Like I said, right after the draft, I don't care how fast you are. If you can't catch a ball, doesn't mean anything to me.
And the shame of it is, Jalen Reagor probably could have had 5 catches the other day, but you just did nothing but run him on fly routes. You did nothing but run him deep. Outside of one where Carson threw a terrible pass.
Creativity was pathetic.
The offense is so vanilla. It's so boring.
I mean, it was. Again, I have never played a down of football in my life, and I could have drawn up every single one of those plays, without trying.
Yeah,
After a couple of the Eagle Ritas that Sean made, I could have easily designed that game plan, and it would have been the same.
And not only that, when the defensive specialist Ron Rivera, when his offense is more creative than yours, when you're Doug Peterson, the offensive guru, that's a disgrace. Why? Where were the jet sweeps with all this friggin' speed you're putting on the field? It's just, it was so mind-boggling. And that when things started to go bad, he didn't change it at all. He kept doing the same crap that wasn't working, that wasn't going to work.
He got away from what was working in the first half, which was 12 personnel, both tight ends. Utilize your tight ends, who clearly are the only saving grace of your team at this point after game one. The most reliable people on the field are your two tight ends.
Yeah, and it's a shame.
That in the first half. And, I also, everyone wants to get on Zach Ertz about that drop. Did it suck? Yeah. Does it change the outcome of the game? No.
Probably not, because they just were not doing enough. But we'll get to Zach Ertz, because I do have a little criticism for him. It's not like oh my God, but it is a little criticism for him. But before we get to that, listen, let's be fair. And we've said it a few times. Carson Wentz was not the Carson that we expect him to be. And what I have said is this. Throughout Carson's career, when he has made a mistake that has hurt, which, let's face it, the interception right before half leads to Washington's first touchdown.
Yep, that was bad.
Carson, in that playmaker's mentality that he has, that is such a gift, but such a curse at times. When he makes that mistake, I feel like he starts to press. And I really feel like that started to play a role in his game the rest of the way. He wanted to make up for that situation. And, one thing that we watch the game live and we say the things, right? So the Rager throw he missed that we all flipped out. How could he miss that?
Yeah.
Well, Greg Cassell broke that down this week. Okay. And Greg Cassell literally said, watch he said, Jalen Rager slows up. And that slow up caused.
Yeah. The long one in the third or fourth quarter.
It was at the end of the first half when if he hits them, they score, and that touchdown.
Oh, okay. Yeah. We're talking about the same one. I did the wrong. 100%. Out of his break, he slowed down.
Yeah. Now listen. I will reiterate this because I don't want people to say that we're just Carson apologists. He was bad. He was terrible. He missed guys over the middle. He was throwing high. He was throwing behind in the second half. But I take that a little bit on him pressing, but I also put that a little bit on he was seeing ghosts. I mean, Jesus Christ, these guys were in his face within 3 seconds of the ball's being snapped.
You know what else will press a quarterback?
Yeah.
Drafting one in the second round for no reason.
That and the fact that you're not calling any quick hitter pass plays so that Carson Wentz can maybe get rid of the ball in under 2 seconds. So he's not facing this pressure. Why? And then here's what upsets me since then, right? The game's over. Normally by Wednesday, I start to move on. We all start to get ready for the next week. But Doug gets in his presser Wednesday, and he's literally asked, was Carson's hamstring bothering him? Is that why you weren't rolling out? And he said, no, he was fine. So then they followed up, which they don't always do, and I'm glad they did it. They said, then tell me why you wouldn't have run these rollouts and these moving the pockets that were so successful over the last 4 or 5 games last year with Carson. And Doug's response is, well, we were really not good on first down, and we had a lot of seconds and 7s, second and 8s. So I'm, as a fan, when I hear that, I'm led to believe that what you're telling me is you can't run a rollout on 2nd and 7. Are you freaking kidding me? That is more asinine than when you tried to say you wanted Tom Brady to score a touchdown because you didn't believe that, you didn't want to, you don't want to give him too many more opportunities at the ball. What the frig are you talking about? That you can't run a rollout on 2nd and 7?
Or what's wrong with doing it on first down then, Doug? Maybe
Yeah.
that helped you get some yards on first down.
And how about not abandoning the run just because it wasn't necessarily working out? Like maybe it wasn't working out because you were running Boston Scott a 5'0" back up the middle against one of the best defensive lines in football. How about some jet sweep runs? How about a lot of different crap that you could have pulled off? Like stop, just take the blame. Just say, I called a bad game. Why can't he do that? It's so Andy Reid-like. And look, I know Andy Reid just won a Super Bowl, but it is so friggin' Andy Reid-like that it drives me insane.
I mean, he literally came up through Andy Reid. He is who he is because
You're a person, Jess. Be independent.
bro, he won a Super Bowl literally because of Andy Reid. Because of the way
It doesn't mean that you can just do whatever the hell you want when it's not working. Adjust.
No, but I think that to be completely honest, I think there's way too much more going on within that organization. There's too many issues and too many egos going on at this point that everyone wants to be right and no one wants to be wrong. So I think we're in for just a show.
The redder Carson's face gets, the worse he plays. I don't know if the color of his face has anything to do with it, but I will say the more he presses, the more he makes mistakes. Or like, listen, yes, Hightower should have came back on the ball. Yes, Reagor shouldn't have slowed up. Yeah, but it doesn't stop the fact that Carson missed a lot of plays on that field.
Yep.
Carson missed a lot of plays in that field. He held the ball a little bit too long at times. All of that is not a lie.
I just think that at this point, yeah, Carson was bad, and no one's going to disagree there. But I just think this organization has done him disservice after disservice after disservice. And I just think that at this point, I just don't understand. I mean, like, you obviously Nick Foles goes and wins a Super Bowl, and you then keep the guy for another year. Fine. He literally just won you a Super Bowl. Then he goes on another playoff run, and you do not sign him to a franchise tag and trade him because you want to show Carson Wentz that he's the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Get the monkey on his back. Fine. You give Carson a $100 million contract. Fine. Completely in support of that. What did you do after that? You got him a 32-year-old Deshaun Jackson. You kept Alshon Jeffrey, and you did nothing else to get him another weapon. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. You drafted J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in the second round instead of taking DK Metcalf. So then everyone gets hurt, and everyone talks crap about him to the media. And then there's a bunch of guys that were bagging groceries at ShopRite who came onto the field, and Carson made them into a playoff team, actually. So your $100 million guy, you handed him scraps off the street, and he took your team to the playoffs, beat the Cowboys, who were leading the division at that point,
and had much more talent on their roster.
Oh, yeah, and was a great leader, banded everybody together to go out on that field and do what they needed to do to get to the playoffs. Then was cheap-shotted out of the opportunity to do so. And did you notice that is what the broadcast said as well on Sunday on Fox, is they said, and Carson Wentz was cheap-shotted out of an opportunity to show what he could do in the playoffs. And I was like, thank you for saying that the way you did, because that is accurate. So he gets cheap-shotted out of that, right? He lays everything out on the line. He had, he had the hand bruise and anything. He got knocked around. Whatever happened to him, he stayed in the game, and he willed them to victories to get them to an NFC East championship title and the playoffs.
Yes.
Cheap-shotted, no fault of his own, and you go and draft Jalen Hurts with your second-round draft pick. That cannot feel good. And we talked about this right after that draft happened. What are you doing to him? Because you could be getting him more weapons to supplement him and your $100 million that you're spending on him. But instead, you want to be a quarterback factory. So you draft Jalen Hurts, which makes absolutely no sense. Then we get here, and your first-round draft pick was good, but also not utilized enough. Your number one receiver was being load managed. Your second round draft pick from last year didn't see a target. Oh, and the most reliable and most trusted player on the offense for Carson Wentz, you won't give him any money because you chose to wait until the last minute until the other two big tight ends in the league got their money, and you decided to offer him less guaranteed money, not only than you did in November, but than Austin Hooper is making with the Browns, and a guy who has taken pay cuts left and right, restructured his deal, done everything to make sure you could keep guys like Alshon Jeffrey on your roster, even though he's hurt, has a terrible attitude, hangs his head when it's not going well for him, and goes and then talks crap to the media about your $100 million quarterback. But let's not pay Zach Ertz, and let's not do anything to supplement Carson Wentz and make sure that he has everything he needs to get to his ceiling. Because at the end of the day, is he an elite quarterback? Yes. But are they doing anything to help him there? No. And I don't want to hear any, elite quarterbacks can lift anyone up. We've seen him lift anybody up. But when your team and organization is actively working against you, it's a giant problem.
It's a huge problem. And the one thing you forget is, and it came out this past week, you don't want to pay Jason Peters to move back over to left tackle. And, then you put it out there like, Jason Peters came in and said he wanted to do it. What you failed to mention, Philadelphia Eagles, is that it took Lane Johnson coming to you and saying, listen, restructure my contract so that you can pay the bodyguard to go back over to that position. You didn't even make that decision. You were going to put Matt Pryor there, who couldn't play left tackle, to save his friggin' life. It's an absolute and utter joke how this organization has gone from so close-knit and everything going well to such a BS organization in this short of a time. And that's upsetting.
I have so many issues with them right now, and I'm extremely frustrated. And you know me, I'm never going to be a person who I'm not going to, as much as I hate Matt Klentak and I do not want him to be the general manager of the Phillies, I'm not going to sit here and yell fire Matt Klentak.
I'll be honest, Jess. In the 3+ years that me and you have been doing this, I have not seen you this negative. I have not. I really haven't.
And I hate being this way. It makes my whole mood.
I love it.
But so I'm never going to be the person, even with Gabe Kapler. You know how much I didn't like Gabe Kapler, but I was never going to sit here and try to call for his job. I don't think that's right. I don't think that's right to do. And that's all, did I agree it was time for Brett Brown to go? Yes, but I was never going to sit here and scream to fire Brett Brown. That's someone's livelihood. Who am I to sit here and scream to fire this? I'm not going to do that. Right. Mm-hmm. So I'm not going to sit here and say, fire Howie Roseman. I'm not going to be that person, but Howie should feel some pressure right now because he's done an absolute abysmal job outside of the year he put together a Super Bowl roster.
Nathan, thank you for joining the show. Yes, what's going on? We are angry with the Eagles, Nate. That is legitimately what's going on here.
But to bring it back in, I expect to see a completely different team out there on Sunday.
Well, and listen, and this leads me to my next point. All right, as we kind of transition into next Sunday, I look at Carson Wentz, okay, and I'm going to say this as clear and as sure as the day is long. Carson Wentz is our quarterback and should be our quarterback. So you friggin' dopes, you friggin' morons, you friggin' idiots out there with the takes that he can't get it done. You guys that are taking victory marches on this are an absolute joke. You're a fraud to the fan base.
You have no right to call anybody a fraud to the fan base. You picked the Cowboys to win the Super Bowl.
I still stand by it. And you are a fraud. Bottom line. So I say this to all of you. If one more person brings up Nick Foles, who, by the way, has now lost jobs in consecutive seasons to Gardner Minshew and Mitch Trubisky, you shouldn't ever watch football again. That's one thing. Secondly, if you want to tell me Jalen Hurts should be playing when, he wasn't even friggin' dressed for week 1, you shouldn't be watching football. Carson is our quarterback, and there's nothing else you should be saying at this point? Just like our man Nate, who just joined, said, I see we're talking about Howie. I hate him. And Carson Wentz is our quarterback and should be our quarterback. You are 100% right. And listen, Dylan, my man Dylan, we brought this up on Tuesday. At first, I'm thinking, all right, I wish fans were in the stadium. It was a home game. He brings up a tremendous point because of the stupidity of some of our fans. It may actually be a good thing they're not there on Sunday. Because the first bad pass that Carson threw, you would hear the Jalen chants, and you would want to punch everyone in the face.
I might have gotten into a fight over that. To be completely honest, it's probably a good thing that I'm not allowed in Lincoln. I would fight everyone in sight. Oh my God. The home opener is like the only game that I turn up a little bit because I like to focus. I like to be very focused. So the home opener is the one game I let myself go just a little bit. And
which is right. Jess, that's totally contradictory to being focused that you let yourself go a little bit.
Just a home opener. That's the only time I do because other than that, I like to. I need to be here. I need to be here. So that's the only time. Home opener, I have fun. I walked around with a literal entire bottle of Don Julio last year.
I'm not going to lie to you. I was hammered at the home opener last year.
Wasted at last year's home opener.
Your fault that I was hammered. I took shots of tequila with Trey and you and everybody else for that matter.
Yeah, I walked around with a bottle of Don Julio and the little red Solo shot glasses. I had a bunch of limes too, but I forgot a knife, so I couldn't open those at all. So we just kind of rode with it.
Listen, we were just taking shots.
Don Julio in the parking lot.
Yes, yeah. And thank you, Nate. I appreciate that you think we're awesome. We kind of think we're awesome. We think we're awesome too. So it kind of fits. And guess what, Nate? You're awesome as well, buddy. Join the awesome party. That's what this is all about. I'm sorry. I'm talking a lot, Jess, and it's because I'm not normally doing this while we're podcasting, but this friggin'
start.
I really should. This week between this and just my normal job, it's just been a hell of a week. It's
been a long week. I feel that. That always seems to happen to me. Like football season starting is always my busiest week because it's the madness. It's babes on like it's all of the things start up again, and you're trying to get all the stuff out. You're trying to organize everything and take it to the next level for whatever's going on. Like you're always trying to do more, right? So it's like this and babes, and then it's like a normal job, and you're like, oh right, I still have to be a normal person and be an adult. And for some reason, it's always like the busiest time of my week. And now I have a fur child that I'm responsible for, which is new for all of this.
Well, listen, can I put that up? Can I put Can you give your name that's at the bottom of the screen, please, so people know who you are?
I'm so confused. Can you read? Can we read? My name is right here. Like, it's literally right here. It's under my face. Right here.
I love, by the way, how you got screwed up by the mirror image of the camera and you went the wrong way.
I wasn't ready.
That was awesome. Jess, I felt what you live a little bit now, because now with me doing Party on Broad on Tuesdays, it's like, oh, I got to do this show on Tuesday. Then obviously we got the Madness Thursday, but now I've decided, hey, I just want to bet.
What bet did you win?
Nick Chubb just scored the first touchdown. I'm pretty sure I benched him this week. That was not smart. I hope I didn't do that. I think I did though. Anyway, but and then I did the post-game show with Dives on Sunday, which was it was actually, I didn't know how it was going to go. I enjoyed being able to get on and just let loose for 35 minutes after the game. It was pure joy for me to be able to do that. But you're right. And then it's like you said, by the way, we have real jobs that actually pay our bills, and we should probably concentrate on that a little bit too, especially me being a teacher. So, but all right, Jess, let's move on to this upcoming Sunday. This is where, right, me and Jess have been simpatico so far on this show. We've been this. I have a feeling this is where me and Jess start to do I did the same thing Jess did. Start to do our normal thing where we start to do this a little bit. Because, Jess, you seem to have some optimism, whereas I'm going, you need to show me before I'm optimistic. So, Jess, start us off here for Sunday.
I think we see a whole new team. I think it's totally a different team that's going to come out on Sunday. I think that they are aware of the absolute egg that they laid. And I mean, they're aware that they should be extremely embarrassed to losing it to a team that has no name. Like, that was a humiliating loss. And it's humiliating because the offense of the Washington football team literally only put up 279 yards.
I didn't take Nick Chubb out of lineup. I had to check it.
Proud of you.
Very happy about this.
Proud of you. I just think that, what they're going to need to do is they're going to need to move the pocket for Carson. They're going to have to do a way better job in protection. Their wide receivers and their running backs are going to have to be better blocking and picking up blitzes. They have to utilize the run game. Miles Sanders is supposed to play, which will be great. Carson's going to have to make better decisions, which I think we will see him do. And then in terms of defense, like, the Rams just play fast. So with quick throws and the tempo, like, tackling is going to be huge. There were a couple times where the corners just did that fun thing where they just try to lower their shoulder and hit them as hard as they could. One play that specifically comes to mind is Nickel Roby-Coleman. It was like right on the goal line. He just decided to like tumble at a person's ankles instead of actually wrapping up and taking someone to the ground. Those kinds of plays are going to be hard, but you're also not going to be able to leave plays on the field, especially on the defensive side. Like, Avonte Maddox has to come down with that pick this week. You know what I mean? So that's not something that they have to be efficient and make all of those plays effectively this week, because it is a better offense in the Rams. And they also have an interesting, not only do they have guys like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods out there making plays, but they also have, an interesting, run game that they've got. Obviously they don't have Todd Gurley, but Malcolm Brown had a really good night the other night, and that rookie Cam Akers out of Florida State, he had a good night too. I mean, Jared Goff didn't throw a touchdown pass, and they still won. So it's going to be one of those things where, the Eagles have to execute, and they have to, as Doug always likes to say, start fast and keep their foot on the gas, but like actually do it. Like they did against the Minnesota Vikings in 2017. Start fast, keep your foot on the gas. That's the kind of thing I need to see on Sunday.
Yeah. And, you bring up a good point. Like you said earlier in the show, and I agree with you. There's very little bit we could say about the defense where we complain about them. I mean, they were put in bad positions all day. I know they gave up 27 points, but let's face it, any of the scoring drives for the football team of Washington were no longer than like 57 yards, maybe. You know what I mean? Like they didn't have to go long.
No, it was 2 interceptions in that block punt.
Yeah. The one issue that you can bring up about the defense. Yeah, you played great, but you have got to force some turnovers.
Yeah.
You can't have a game where you do not force any turnovers, especially in a game like that got ugly, that your offense was stagnant. They could have used a short field at some point to kind of get their rhythm back. And I hate putting that on the defense because, like you said, Jess, they were so good. I mean, Derek was excellent. I thought outside of dropping the interception and maybe 1 or 2 plays, I thought Avonte Maddox played a really, really solid game.
Yeah, I mean, their one touchdown, it was a miscommunication between who was it? It was him and
I think it was Jalen Mills.
No.
I think Jalen, one of the touchdowns, Jalen Mills was a part of it.
Yeah, it wasn't that one. It was their first touchdown. It was a miscommunication between Avonte, and I don't think it was TJ Edwards. It might have been TJ Edwards.
Well, and that goes to the whole other idea if we just ignored the linebacker position.
Don't even get me started there. You don't even get me started on that.
Don't bring up Jordan Hicks. It's been 2 years now. Move on.
Would there have been a miscommunication with Jordan Hicks?
Well, with the medical staff of the Philadelphia Eagles, he probably would have gotten hurt because I don't know where they're finding these medical staffs.
But it's not even that. It's the strength and conditioning. Why do you keep getting soft tissue injuries? Why are you not strong enough to not get those every time you pick up a leg? Like every time you get up from like your locker, every time like you're sitting in there tying your shoes and you stand up, you shouldn't pull a hammy. It shouldn't happen.
I mean, I agree with you, and I don't know if part of that plays into the whole abbreviated off season. I don't know what hamstrings are like around the rest of the league. I don't pay enough attention to these other teams to know, are these guys like, you hear about some of the big names. Mike Evans has had a hamstring issue, right? And they limited him on Sunday, hence why the Buccaneers look pedestrian. You're hearing about some of these injuries kind of popping up, and you go, but it just seems like the major players for the Eagles were having
every year.
Yeah.
And that's, I mean, and like, we can talk all we want about the Eagles winning a Super Bowl with 7 players on IR. That was light compared to what we've gone through with injuries since then.
Yeah.
Like that was an easy year.
It's upsetting. Let's take a look at some of our comments. We've got only a few, but our man Dylan is proud of me because I won some money off Nick Chubb. Nick Chubb? I don't know who Nick Chubb is. Nick Chubb scoring the first touchdown tonight. Our man Nate, he thinks we're going to beat the Rams 34-28. He thinks we're going to beat the Bengals 99-0, Jess. Even you, I don't know if it's positive enough for that. And Jess, this will make you happy.
By 100.
Yeah. He believes the Cowboys are going 8.
I say this every day. I say this once a day. I literally, I kid you not, once a day. You've heard me say it. Once a day, I say, and at the end, we know the Cowboys are going to go 8-8. It doesn't matter what they do; they're still going to go 8-8.
Clapper's not there anymore. He was Mr. 8-8.
They're all still there.
Not Jason Garrett.
Okay. You know who their quarterback is?
I do. I think he's better than you do. I'm sorry. I do.
He is average at best.
Yes. Oh, God.
He is absolutely average at best.
Jess, this is why our show works so well. Because we're very much the same, but there are certain things that we disagree on so wholeheartedly that it just meshes so well. And I appreciate you for that, Jess.
And I will never change from any of those stances.
Jess.
I will stay there until the end of time.
That is why our intro is so great when you just yell real slowly, I was right. Because that is totally who you are.
Yes. Imagine living with it.
Joe, if you're watching, if you're listening, if you can hear us through the door, Joe, now that you're in the building, you're not longer
locked on the balcony anymore.
Yeah, you're not locked out on the balcony. I feel you, man. I feel for you. I'm here for you, buddy. No. All right, so here we go.
He lives a good life.
All right, before we let's do some NFL predictions, then we'll end the show talking a little Sixers. Okay? And you can fire the Phillies bullpen into the sun if you want. Although, are they choking again tonight? How are we doing tonight?
Not yet, but I don't know how much longer Nola can go. He had almost 80 pitches through 4. He got out of it though. He had the bases loaded and got out of it. So
while the Phillies have the bases loaded, it's only the 4th inning? What the hell is going on?
Starting pitchers had really bad first innings.
I understand that, but it was 6-3 in the 3rd. Why is it only the 4th? This is why I can't fully get behind baseball. That's absurd to me.
I've watched I missed baseball. I missed being able to watch the Phil through the summer. I've told you this before. I grew up, my great grandfather had a house in Cape May, and let me tell you, this house had no air conditioning. There was no dishwasher. It was like windows open. It was the best. It was the best time with family, and that's where I grew up going. And when I was little, my great grandfather was too old to go to the beach at that point, so we would come back, and he would always be sitting on his one spot on the couch with his shirt off, ready for my mom. 5 o'clock was cocktail time. It was Jim Beam on ice. And waiting for my mom. We'd walk in the door. It's cocktail time. She'd make him his drink, and I would take my little shower and I'd sit with him and we would watch the Phillies every day. And that is how I grew up watching the Phillies. Like that is everyone has those memories about sport. Like everyone in Philly has those memories somehow in some different like that's my big one. So with the sitting in the summer and not watching the Phillies just felt so wrong. Like it felt like something was missing out of my life. Now it's back.
It's fair. It's back. But why the hell is this game only in the 4th inning?
I don't.
That's all I'm concerned about.
I know.
I expected to flip back and at least be the 6th. And the Phillies just left the bases loaded. You're going to find that out pretty soon. Sorry, I forgot your.
Actually, it happened. I'm back. I'm pretty on time now.
Oh, okay. All right.
I can't even be mad though because Andrew Knapp has literally been playing so well.
I know. It's like, how do you get mad at the guy for that?
Yeah.
All right. Before we move on to a little Sixers talk, Eagles, how much do they win by in your opinion?
I forget what my score was. I think my score was 24-20 Eagles. I still think it's going to be a good game, but I just think we see a much better, more efficient looking Eagles offense. But there's still, obviously, you have to not only account for guys like Aaron Donald, like their secondary is no joke either. So I think it's going to be a good game, and I think it's going to be fun. Not only like in 2017, obviously we got to see like the 1 and 2 pick from 2016 go head to head, but Carson obviously got hurt and left the game. So you didn't really get to see that play out. So I just think all of those two kind of going head to head, the Fletcher Cox and Aaron Donald, like on both ends, the Sean McVay and Doug Peters. Like I just think the whole thing, it's going to be a good game. There's not a huge amount riding on it as it is in the end of the season. So I think it's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be a good game. And I don't think the Eagles are going to make me cry.
I love you, Jess. And I love your optimism.
You know what? And you're about to bring me down.
And Jess, I really hope that eventually I can get myself to come visit you in Never Neverland with Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, because it seems like such a fun, optimistic place. But and I can't wait to come visit you there. And once the Eagles get a W, maybe I will come visit you there.
Probably
but until they show me that they are not a bunch of little boys, that they can rise above stuff, that Doug Peterson can understand where his errors are, how am I supposed to pick them? I'm not going to. So let's show you. DC 8950 says Birds win 23-17. I love that score of 23-17. I'm going the other way with it. And Jess, you know me. Most of my predictions are wrong, and that's okay. Part of why I make the predictions is to be wrong. So I'm hoping that when I'm watching this game Sunday, you could text me and go, Rob, you're a jackass. You're a dumbass.
I would do that anyway.
I mean, you don't, but you will. You probably will this week. I hope you're right. And I'm going to say, Jess, you're right. I am a jackass. I am a dumbass. I'll be the first one to say it. I got to not drink vodka before the show anymore. I probably shouldn't go this way.
Yeah. Why not?
So I go 23-17 Rams. I just don't know how Aaron Donald doesn't just get home like 4 times. Jalen Ramsey's going to be matched up on Rager because apparently Deshaun Jackson only plays 37% of the snaps. So you want me to believe that John Hightower is going to be the guy? I just can't go there yet. Now,
Greg Ward.
Oh my God. I wish Dives was still listening. Dives is the biggest Greg Ward, like over the top. Like we can all like Greg Ward and but like he thinks that Greg Ward might be the next coming of Jesus. And
I was just concerned that like, I think I might've said this on the show last week when they were at rock bottom and like could not go any lower. And Greg Ward was the guy. And we were all like, this is the best thing ever. It was great. But then I was like, okay, when he's actually a starter and he's actually like being relied on when we're not at rock bottom, how is he going to do? Great. Fantastic. Sign me up. Big third down catches left and right. Sign me up. Sign me up. I'm here for it.
I said this Tuesday night. You know who Greg Ward is?
Who?
Although I don't hate him I don't hate him at all. And this other guy I do hate. Greg Ward is none other than Robert Covington. He's a guy that everyone loves because
me too, I think.
that when the team is brutal, he looks like a star, right? Like Robert Covington did. But when there's like actual guys around him, he's just another guy. The only difference is the Greg Ward fan base is nowhere near the disgrace that.
But he played well. But that's what I'm saying. He did everything he was supposed to do. You know what I mean? No complaints there when it comes to Greg Ward.
Yeah.
So let's hope he keeps building on that. Because it seems like at this point, I mean, the only guys that Carson can trust are Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, and Greg Ward.
Yeah. I mean, it might be. It might very well be.
Jalen Reagor, but, you know.
Let's, for the last couple minutes of this show, switch gears. All right, the Philadelphia 76ers have been in the news the last couple days. Some good stuff in the sense of Ben Simmons, All-NBA third team. Nice to see him get, a small accolade. It's not a big accolade, but it's a small accolade.
Well-deserved.
Well-deserved.
First team all-defense, also extremely well-deserved.
Yes, that was extremely well-deserved. I agree. But the news that I speak of is a little more depressing. Okay. Obviously, the Clippers were stunned by the Denver Nuggets, which made things even that much more interesting because now Ty Lue is done coaching. So, the reports are the Sixers are expected to interview 3 coaches this week, Jess. Ty Lue, Billy Donovan, and Mike D'Antoni, who decided to walk away from the Rockets. Keith Pompey put an article out this week that actually I have to bring this up because this is a great point. It would be nice if the Sixers made their front office changes that they've been preaching about, but I don't see that happening.
They're not.
It came out this week by Keith Pompey in an article that Mike D'Antoni is the front runner. And Jess, I ask a very simple question to you, Jess. Why?
That makes me want Ty Lue.
Yes, that's exactly what I
sit here and I look at this, and why am I blanking on who the third name you just said was?
The only guy that I really want out of all 3 of them, Billy Donovan.
Right. I don't want him either.
Why?
What has he done?
He took a team that had nothing but an aging Chris Paul and almost got to the second round of the playoffs with him.
So you mean who does exactly what Russell Westbrook does, who they had?
Yeah, but Billy Donovan.
What has he done? Oh, right. Blown a 3-1 lead to the Warriors. Done that with Kevin Durant and Russell Westbrook. Awesome. Okay. Don't want that here. Nope.
I want Billy Donovan.
It actually makes me start to make arguments for Ty Lue to be the head coach of the Sixers. That's what Mike D'Antoni and Billy Donovan, also interviewing for this job, make me do. It makes me want Ty Lue as the head coach and makes me make arguments for why Ty Lue should be the head coach.
Well, our number one fan, Collie.
I was trying to talk myself into it when it came out that he was pretty much a done deal. Yeah. I was like, all right, I can get on board with this.
We had a show about it. We talked about it.
Right. I was like, I can get on board with this.
Yes.
And now I actually won it over those 2 idiots.
Chris is saying he's in the minority of people who like Mike.
Why? Tell us why.
Here's my issue with Mike D'Antoni. Mike D'Antoni's offense is predicated on 2 things. One-on-one dribbling and shooting threes. Jess, I asked you, what were 2 of the issues the Sixers had this year?
Let's see. One-on-one dribbling and shooting threes.
Yes, that is correct. And
they have to overhaul everything and make Ben Simmons a center.
And I heard a couple shows talking about, Kobe Bryant called him an offensive genius and all that stuff. Maybe, but I haven't seen it. And you just said all I've seen him do is go into the playoffs and lose.
Yeah, and literally crap the bed. So I can't understand why your argument for Billy Donovan, why you want Billy Donovan to be the head coach of the Sixers, because you literally just made the same argument. You made the same argument why Mike D'Antoni shouldn't be the coach for why you're trying to argue that Billy Donovan should be the coach. You're trying to make the same argument.
No, because Mike D'Antoni's offense does not fit what we need the Sixers to do. right now. 1. 2, Billy Donovan over the last 2 years. I understand what you're saying, but let's face it. Russell Westbrook will never win in this league, right? I think me and you are in agreement of that. He just won't win in this league. But Mike D'Antoni had a team a couple years ago that had no business. The talent they had, the lead they had, remember when they were 3-2 against the Warriors?
That was their window. If they did not win that year, they were not winning. I don't have patience for a slim window.
No, I agree. But my point there is they had size, they had scoring, they had everything in place and couldn't win with D'Antoni. I still don't know if Billy Donovan has, because Russell Westbrook is such a friggin' oddball on a team that he had to deal with that crap as it was. I look more at Billy Donovan as a guy with a team that had guys like Dennis Schroeder. Oh, there's Nola.
We have a puppy.
Nola, is your guy still pitching, Nola? That's the big question. Right?
He is.
He's still pitching. It's 6-3. Somehow, when I left the game, it was the end of the 4th, and it is still the top of the 5th. That was 25 minutes ago. Anyway. So, Jess, I think you would rather Ty Lue over both. Yes. I would rather Billy Donovan than Ty Lue. I think we are both in agreement that if it's Mike D'Antoni, we're going to be very upset.
We will riot. Also, to Chris's point with familiarity with Embiid, I am absolutely not trying to watch Joel Embiid turn into Clint Capella and only do that crap. He has way too much talent to be Clint Capella.
Which I want to kind of talk. I'm glad you brought up Joel Embiid. Before we end the show, I want to bring him up. There was a ton of talk this week, right, when the All-NBA teams came out, because Rudy Gobert made the 3rd team, and I agree. I think it's ridiculous. I totally agree with that.
I don't get the obsession and love for Rudy Gobert.
No,
not only is he a jackass.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all. Here's where my unpopular point is. Joel didn't make any of the 3 All-NBA teams. And here's where I stand on it. It's one word, Jess. It's one word. Good. And I say that from this standpoint. I was extremely disappointed over the last 2 seasons with the maturity, not the skill. We all know he has a skill, but the maturity of Joel Embiid and the body language on the court. And like I tell you, Jess, and I think me and you may agree on this, if it ever came, and I don't believe it's now, and I don't believe it should be now or anything, but if it ever came that you had to choose between Ben and Joe, there are multiple reasons why myself is picking Ben over Joe. And Joe's maturity and the fact that Joe plays a position that, listen, you have to build really well around it for that position to kind of work as a dominant position. I'm hoping that something like this maybe pisses him off, and that whoever the new coach is comes in and says, Joe, you need to stop being a little baby. You need to go out there and dominate. Because here's the deal. Jokic, he doesn't have the same – he's not as skilled as Joel Embiid. But guess what? That son of a bitch – grinds his ass every single play.
Do you want to know why? You want to know why?
Here we go. Go ahead, Jess.
Because there's an actual team built around him that enhances his skill set. I can't even have these arguments and can't even have these discussions with anyone who has looked at the Sixers and been like, yeah, they've done everything to put Joe in the best position. They had the best coach in place. They had the best front office in place to put the best people around Joel Embiid to let him do what he does. No, they put idiots around Joel Embiid, so he has to stand at the 3-point line because he thinks he has to do everything because no one else can. If you want to talk about putting your head down and grinding every single play, watch how Joel Embiid played in 4 games against the Celtics. You tell me anyone else put their head down and played like that? No shot.
I just mean that the maturity level has got to rise.
I'm not just saying you. I'm just saying in general. Like, I'm not – I totally get
I love Joel Embiid. I do, sure. But there's a maturity level that needs to get there for him.
Sure, but I just think that it's never going to get there unless they put the correct players around him. And we can go back to this every single time. Let's look at the Miami Heat right now. You have guys like Jimmy Butler. We talked about it. Jimmy Butler is a scorer. He's not a shooter. Okay? He's not going to constantly be draining threes. He's not going to give you the efficient stat lines, right? Like he's not going to be, 22 for 25 from the floor, right? He's going to be 12 for 25 from the floor. He's going to get to the line, but he's going to give you those clutch moments, and he's also going to play defense, right? That is what Ben Simmons could be, right? He can get to the hole when he needs to, but he's also going to make the right basketball play. And then you got a guy like Bam Adebayo, who is a wonderful center, is exactly what Joel Embiid can be and more. But you put guys like Tyler Hero, Kendrick Nunn, you put shooters around them. I don't care if they're big name shooters or no name shooters. You put reliable shooters around them and people that are actually good off the dribble, someone that has a little bit of ball handling skill, just a little bit, like a touch, like just a little bit, it would be great. You put guys like that around Ben and Joe, we're talking about a completely different team. You saw how they played when they had guys like JJ Redick, Marco Bellinelli, even an Ersan Ilyasova who was knocking down shots that year. Obviously, they were outmatched in the game in the series against Boston. They were outcoached. It was, Brett Brown's first time as a head coach in the playoffs. It was Ben Simmons' rookie year. It was Joel Embiid's first time in the playoffs. Like, obviously, there were things to work on. But they also came out there and absolutely dominated the Miami Heat then. And there's a lot of those same players right now playing. You know what I mean? So you put guys like that around Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, and they're going to go so much further than getting swept in the first round by the Boston Celtics because the guy who was supposed to be your shooter went 0 for 7 from the floor. The guy who was supposed to be your shooter didn't take a shot in game 1. That needs to change. And I totally agree with you that the maturity needs to keep growing. And there are things that they need to grow in as well. They're not perfect, and they aren't at a point where they're like, well, we're up here. How about you come and join us? No, they have places that they can go as well. And there's improvements for both of their games that I would like to see happen. But it would be absolutely asinine to put a head coach around them that's going to do dumb stuff and not going to play up to their standards and not going to put the correct people around them and do the correct things that are going to enhance them in the right way. And if they just leave this roster the way it is and they don't add some shooters into this situation, they are going nowhere. And you are going to alienate two of the best talents that have come through your franchise since Allen Iverson in 2004.
Yeah.
And
that's why
talent like this since AI left.
And that's why what Chris is saying, I more am on the second name. A guy like Buddy Hield needs to be here this year. You need to get a couple guys in here to put around them to score the basketball the right way. All right, Jess. I think we have ranted enough for the madness this week. Jess, what's going on for you? Plug some stuff for us.
Okay, so Sunday, 11:30, Babes on Broad pregame live. You can find us on Facebook. It'll be live on Sam's Instagram. It'll also be on both of our Twitters and the Babes on Broad Facebook. So both of our personal Facebooks, both of our personal Twitters, her Instagram, because you can add all those fun things on StreamYard. It's very exciting what you can do with this. Nola's trying to dig through. I'm sitting on my bed right now. She's trying to dig through the comforter currently. We should have another episode dropping at some point. I'm not actually sure when that's going to come out, but it's our quick prediction episode for Sunday. But yes, you can find us there. Come join us and drink with us while we get ready for the Eagles game. Nola.
Jess, it totally looks like you're in the middle of an earthquake, which is awesome.
It's exactly what's going on. Hey, what we doing?
All right. As far as I am concerned, okay, obviously we have the madness. You could catch me on the Party on Broad post-game show. There will be a pregame show as well, but this is what I want you to do on that. I want you all to get 2 devices. I want you to watch Jess and Sam and Babes on Broad on one, and I want you to go over and watch Dibes and my main man Dylan over there and whoever else they have coming on the show this week for the pregame. But definitely tune in for the postgame. Win or loss, we bring the heat. Okay, I actually dropped about 4 F-bombs, which I don't normally do.
Oh,
But on
yikes.
Party Abroad, it's okay. So we let that go.
We're a little bit more family friendly here on the
Yeah,
man.
we're much more family friendly here.
Except for when Rob drinks vodka.
Yeah, and guess what? This might be a new thing. I'm kind of enjoying the whole vodka drinking
Yeah,
thing.
why not?
All right, so go Birds. Make me a believer again. Make Jess text me that I'm a dumbass so we can all
Please.
have fun on Sunday. And until then, embrace the madness, everybody. Have a great week.